What's up, nerds? How you guys doing today? Doing all right. Making tons of progress. I figured today's as good a day as any to do a quick update on where things are at and give a little sneak peek at some of the new things I'm working on. Why not? Besides, my brain's a little bit fried this morning. This is making a videos about all I got left in me. So let's just jump right to it. Let's not goof around, right? We're gonna just get right to the good stuff. So let me share my screen. Let's put me up at the top. All right, now let's put me down at the bottom. All right, so what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at my office. Let me load up my league real quick, or generate my league, and we can see what we see. So since last time, I sort of thought through all the stuff we talked about on the last video, right? We talked about making it more interesting to look at, not parking you on the standing screen, making sure it doesn't look like a spreadsheet all the time. So I spent the last, I don't know, what has it been, about a week since then? Just trying to figure out how to get these screens to all work together without feeling like a spreadsheet, but then also without making it overly complicated to do the things you want to do. Now, that's the other thing I don't think I talked about enough in the last video was, look, at the end of the day, this is mostly a roster management and roster building game. So there's just a lot of number type things that you need to do. You got to do a lot of spreadsheety kind of things, right? You got to look through players. You got to sort, what you have. You got to like do depth charts, finances. Like there's just a lot of that stuff. And one thing I didn't want to do in my attempt to kind of take the spreadsheet out of the game, I didn't want to make it really difficult for you to actually manage your team, right? Because one of my goals all along has been, I want to have the deep roster building experience of the NFL. I want there to be a lot of strategic decisions and a lot of trade-offs and decision making in building your roster. But I also want it to I don't want you to be buried in minutia. And as I was sort of converting the early screens into more of this environmental look, there was a temptation for me to lean too much into the environment. So early on, I had you were supposed to, let me just go to a screen that doesn't have anything. So like the scout room, right? This is the scout room. Early on in my design, I had it so you click on this and it would bring up this thing. And then you'd click on like your phone and it would bring up this other thing. And then you click on this wall and it would bring up this other thing. And it's like, well, that's really cool. Like in theory, that's a really cool system for navigating the UI. But in practice, if you're the player and you haven't, maybe you sat down, this is your first few hours in the game, how do you know what to click on to go to the things you want to do? If I want to scout the rookie pool, I either just have to know what to click on to bring that up, or I got to have some text somewhere to tell me, hey, you got to click on the headphones to bring up the rookie pool, right? So I was thinking through this as I was kind of developing the 3D environments, and it dawned on me, it's okay, if I go too far, I'm just making the game really hard to play. And that's the opposite of what I want to do. I want the roster building portion to be as easy as possible to navigate while still keeping all of the depth that I want to have, but also minimizing the spreadsheet type look. So there's a delicate balance I'm trying to do here. And over the last week of kind of messing around with some different interfaces and different screens, I think I'm zeroing in on a style that I really like. So we'll take a little tour here, and you can see there was a long preamble to why do the screens look the way they do and what direction am I going, which is, I think it's good. But like in the back of your mind, if you're like, well, why did he make that decision? Well, the long preamble was so that okay, this is what he's going for. And then you can be like, well, maybe you can improve it by doing this or that. But you know what I'm aiming for now. So you can give me suggestions that would help me get closer to what I'm aiming at. All right. So let's take it. Well, first of all, this is the scout office. I'm kind of build out the rest of the environment. Like I'm going to build out more of the detail as I go. My strategy has been just start with the main idea and just keep adding details as I figure out what I want, rather than trying to throw everything in all at once and then find out I'm wrong and then have to remove things and add new things. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. I don't have any screens yet for the scouting system. If you remember from the strategy that I showed last time, I think scouting is kind of in October. I plan on doing all the scouting. So that's when we're going to fill out this room. If you look here at the top, I'm kind of going with this overall interface strategy of show as few buttons as possible. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? Give me as few buttons as possible because I don't want to be confused as to what I'm supposed to do. So the way this is going to work is up here at the top, you've got the very upper left-hand button is going to be the thing you're kind of doing now, the current phase of the season, right? Right now, we're in the preseason, so the most important thing I should be doing now is playing my next game. I don't think that, it does work. Okay. So that button up here is always going to be whatever's happening right now. If it's the college draft, that button's going to say the draft. If it's free agency, that button's going to say free agency, right? If it's the off-season coaching meetings, I can goof around with my roster and do a bunch of other stuff, but I'll always just be able to click that button and go right to the core of what I'm supposed to be doing right now. The second group here, or the first group, the second, over to the right, these are the main, what I'm calling the rooms, right? So like the scout office, obviously we're looking at the scout office. There's really only 4 rooms. There's going to be the scout office, the game strategy room, League Central, and then my office. Right now, I think there's only a need for 4 rooms. And you'll see why in a second. We'll get to that. But there is room. I can add another room if we figure out that 4 is just not enough. But essentially what these rooms are, when you think about a room, think of it as a group of related activities. So, right, my office is a good transition to the next group, right? The next group after the rooms is the stuff you do in that room. And that group of buttons is going to change depending on whatever room you're in. So in my office, the things I can do right now are I can look at my profile as a coach, right? And this is where I'm going to look at things like my skills, if I do any upgrades, look at my history, my stats, my job security, all that stuff, anything that has to do with me. Then there's going to be the goals. This is where I check in to see how I'm doing on all my goals I have to accomplish. There's the team page. That's going to bring me to just the team level stuff, team level history, team level stats, just kind of the bigger picture team stuff. Staff, right? I go to the staff page. That's where I'm going to manage my staff. And then roster, that's this page, right? Where I'm looking at my roster. And then, the workflow is like this, right? You click on my office. I want to do something. Stuff that you can do in my office pops up here. I click on the thing I want to do. Oh, I want to work on my roster. I go to my roster page. I can also look at my picks. I'm probably going to move that over to the team page. But this is where you do your roster type stuff. I look at my players, look at the contracts that I have, look at player happiness just to kind of see how my guys are doing. I got a bunch of guys that look like they feel like they're underpaid. All right. Well, it's something to pay attention to. Here's also where I can cut guys. So maybe this guy sucks. Maybe I want to cut him. So, the idea here is it gives you enough information you can figure out, do I actually want to release him? Okay, that's going to give me a $300,000 penalty next year. Maybe he's not playing, but maybe whatever, I don't care. Or maybe I want to look at, let's pick a guy. Let's go sort by overall. Here we go. So Joseph is in the last year of his deal. It's like, maybe I want to give this guy an extension before we get to free agency. Right. So this is another thing I just imagine you're going to do in your office. So, all right. So let's look at extension, and then I can negotiate a contract extension with him. Right. Stuff you do in your office. League Central. This is kind of the stuff, league-wide activities, right? This is like looking at the league as a whole. I grouped all of the stuff. It kind of makes sense there. So like standings, the schedule, right? The schedule screen works now. My schedule game. I don't have game info yet, but this is where you can sim games. Like I sim that game here. This is where you're going to be able to go in and play your game. If you click the next game button, this is where it's going to bring you. So let's sim the week. It'll sim all the games that are not your game. So it's like simming all the computer games. And then we can sim my game, and then you see I lost. So that kind of sucks. Go to the next week, right? Sim the week. Sim my game. I lost again. Great. So we're going to sim it anymore. I'm tired of losing. But anyway, so league stuff. This is where you're going to see the stats. All right. Go to the playoff screen when we're far enough in the season to get playoff standings or seeds. This is where you're going to get free agents, right? The in-season free agency, right? Maybe I cut that defensive end and I want to backfill with a middle linebacker, right? This is where you get your free agents. And then, of course, the trade desk is a league thing. Game strategy. This is where I'm kind of lumping all of the stuff you're going to do to prepare for playing a game. Right, setting your depth chart. I separated that out from the financial roster management stuff just because the two aren't really that related. We'll see how it works in gameplay. But so like setting up your depth chart for the next game, setting up your game plan, creating and maintaining your playbook. And then, of course, the play editor is you're going to get from here. It's like all this, again, like I'm trying to group all the stuff you're going to do to prepare for games. And then, of course, scouting is just like all the scouting stuff. I'd originally planned scouting to be like a fairly simple system. But the more stuff I add into the game, the more I realize scouting's gonna be a kind of a big deal. So like if you go, let's go to free agents. This is a good way to talk about it. Oh, it's in League Central. This scouted column, none of these free agents are scouted because I didn't simulate scouting for this time. But this scouted column, it turns out I had originally made it just for college rookies. Like the amount of scouting is the amount of information you know for the guys in the draft. Now I'm realizing, okay, when you draft a guy, play it through in your head a little bit. You draft a guy, then you go into training camp. It doesn't make sense that the second you draft him, you know everything about him, right? Because part of the fun of a guy's rookie year is you think he's going to be awesome and you see him play and maybe he's not that awesome, right? Or maybe you get a guy in the 4th round, and in this game would be rated somewhere in the 60s. and he's just awesome all of a sudden, right? Or maybe a guy he doesn't play a lot his rookie year, but his second year, he all of a sudden blows up. Those kind of things only can happen in one of two ways. We'll zoom in while I'm just kind of talking about this. It really only can happen one of two ways, right? Either there's scout uncertainty, in which case you can't have your scouting system only apply to rookies coming in the league, because then like the second you draft them, you know what their ratings are, and there's no more like uncertainty for their second year, or after training camp, in their second year, in their third year, right? If you remove the uncertainty because guys are fully scouted after they're on your team, you get rid of that through scouting uncertainty, right? All right, so let's just say you do that. You don't use that system. The only other system you can have is to every year create some sort of random boom or bust system that artificially changes players' ratings. So like, just for fun, let's say this tackle here, right? Rankin, he's a 76. Free agent. Let's say he was a rookie, right? We drafted him. He was a 76. That 76 is accurate because he's on our team now, and we're not using the scouting uncertainty system. He's on our team, so now we know exactly what his rating is. To make him all of a sudden next year be awesome, I would have to like artificially change these ratings from he's a 76 to now he's like an 86. It's like, well, you can do that, and most football games do that. But how do you incorporate that as a strategy then? Like random player rating changes of magnitudes that show up and are exciting, they kind of seem cheap. They kind of seem like, okay, well, there's no way I would have known that the roll of the dice just decided he all of a sudden is now an 86 when he's been a 76 up until now. I mean, you can do it. Like I said, most football games do that. I don't know if I love that, because it takes the strategy out of your hand as the coach and it puts it into a random dice roll. I do like random dice rolls for things, but not for stuff that big. Or like my first round pick, let's say he was an 80 and I traded up to get him, and because of the roll of the dice, all of a sudden we change his ratings down to a 60. It's like, what could I have done as a coach to avoid that? Nothing, because it was just a random dice roll that happened. There's nothing you could have done. I don't like taking the strategy out of your hands and putting something that big on a dice roll. So that's a long way of me saying this scouting system is turning out to be a bigger deal than I thought it was going to be. Almost everything is going to depend on how much you've scouted a player and how much like the AI teams have scouted a player. So because of that, I created a whole scout office. You're going to hire a director of scouting. You're going to have in the coaches meetings, you're going to have a certain amount of investment into the scouting department that's going to come from other areas. So like the scouting is going to be a big deal. My thought is, okay, some of these guys got injured. That's not great. 2 weeks out. Oh, my free safety's out for 5 weeks. Anyway. So my thought is, right, you're gonna invest in your scouting, and what that's gonna do is your amount scouted, right? It will go here. Do I have the scouting thing here? Yeah, the scouted percentage will go up. And the more scouting you have, the more certain you are of the player's ratings and the less amount of error and all that stuff. So then when draft time comes, if my scouting is really high, I'm pretty sure I know what the guy's rating is. And then after the first training camp, you're going to need a little more scouting, and I'm going to kind of know what he is. And, maybe after the first year, I get a bunch more scouting. And then all of a sudden, like at that point, I've scouted him enough that I see, oh my goodness, that guy who I drafted that was an 80, he's actually a 60. And I know that now because I've scouted him more. Whereas maybe draft day, I took a flyer on him. He was only like 10% scouted. I took a flyer on him because he looked like an 80, but I didn't plan on scouting him that much. So in this case, I was just wrong. I took a swing on a guy I didn't scout. I paid for it. Right. I could have made a better decision by investing in scouting on that guy. Whereas I scouted a bunch of other guys and I got a little closer to what their real ratings were. And I said, I don't want to use this pick on the 75. This guy that was an 80 looks awesome. But, turns out he wasn't an 80. Anyway, way too much about scouting. But anyway, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. I'm going to try to make it fun because it is a big deal. I'm still not quite sure what that is, but I've got like a month to figure that out. So anyway, that's how the screens are going to work. I did add a couple other interesting things, called an audible on a couple of things, mostly to do with contracts. So let's take a look at contracts. Let's look at Kirky Cousins. So let's offer him an extension. Contract extensions and free agency is always one of those things I just don't love doing while I'm playing, and I don't really love making. Mostly because it's kind of boring in terms of like the interface of, all right, what do you do? Do you type in all the numbers for the contract? Do you put little buttons to click, increase, decrease the amount of money you're going to offer? Like you just think of, how do I get a 7-year contract offer to a player without all kinds of clicking or typing or any of that stuff, right? That's one thing I hate about the screen, and I hate about this part of the game. It's always just a huge pain in the butt. The second thing is, this is, other than trades, this is probably the most exploitable area in every single football game, right? Think of like every sim you've played, every Madden you've played. Contracts is one of those areas that every game, there's so many cheeses and there's so many exploits that, it's like, it's nearly impossible to close them all up when you let people just, type in and adjust the minutia of all the contracts. And at the end of the day, if you think about it, at the end of the day, this is not the most important or most fun part of managing a team, right? Is the year to year, how much is bonus and how much is salary. Like it's such a small part of the game. It's important, but it's shouldn't be the thing that cheesing contracts is what makes the difference of whether you're going to be good or bad, right? So I've always struggled with this, and in this game specifically, because I'm trying to, again, cut down on the amount of stuff you do that's non-value add. I'm trying to cut down on the clicks. I'm trying to like make it as simple as possible, but keep all the strategic depth. And a number one thing I'm trying to do is get rid of the cheese. So I think I came up with a pretty good system. I've boiled it down. Your whole contract strategy is boiled down to 2 slider bars. How many years are you offering, and what is your bonus strategy? So the way this is going to work is every player comes into negotiations with what they're requesting. They have a certain base level demand, and no amount of you cheesing the interface is going to change what they are requesting. So that's what they start with. Kirko wants 5 years, $129 million, and he wants $64.5 million in guaranteed money. Now, real life Kirk Cousins would want $121.9 million of guaranteed money. But that's real life Kirk. You know, we're not dealing with 100% guaranteed Kirk. What I can choose to do is say, all right, he's currently got 2 years left. His new deal will put him all the way out to 2025, $25.8 million cap hit. That seems excessive to me. So what I can do is I can decide to move some of the money in his deal from salary to bonus. And the rate is players, first of all, players love signing bonus, right? It's guaranteed money. From a team's perspective, you don't like signing bonus because if anything happens to this player and you have to cut them, they retire, or you have to trade them, signing bonus is what gets added to your dead cap penalty. So teams don't like signing bonus. Players love signing bonus. But to get a lower cap, I can make the decision to convert some of that salary or all of that salary into bonus. And right now the ratio is for every $1 of bonus you're going to give a player, they will accept $2 reduction in salary. So think of it as like they like bonus twice as much as they like salary. So if I convert all $12.9 million in salary to bonus, the cap hit goes from 25.8 to 19.4, right? All of the salary gets converted to bonus. That conversion rate is $2 of salary equals $1 of bonus. So my cap goes down by essentially half of what the salary would have been. Right. So this is great for the player. It's good for me because my cap hit goes down from almost 26 million to almost 19.5 million. So I save what? $5 million, $7 million in cap. The problem is that's all now bonus, so it's high risk for the team. But if I plan on keeping him the whole time, that's a good way to save some money. Just pray he doesn't get injured or retire or hold out or anything like that. So, right, slider strategy replaces all of those typing in each year how much bonus and how much salary, right? Just one slider. If I want to go like a little bit, maybe I just want to keep the same cap as I have right now. I can kind of slide it over to find the right ratio so that my cap hit stays consistent, right? It's somewhere in the middle. 7.7 million in salary, 13.9 in bonus. The other thing I can do is just change the number of years, right? Kirk wants 5 years. So if I say, you know what, Kirk, I only want to extend you for 1 additional year. He doesn't like that. So it's going to cost me more per year. And I think right now it's like a 20% delta, depending on how far off from his request I am. So if I go lowest cap cost, 19.4, he wants 5. If I only offer 1, that 19.4 is all of a sudden $34.9 million for 1 year. So again, it's all kind of built in, right? Players want what they want. I can make some adjustments to it, but it's going to cost me, is really how it is, which is the whole point, right? I want you to have to make tough calls. So maybe I'll look at a guy not in, he's on his last year, not quite as good, just to get a feel for this guy. He wants 4 years. I can offer him up to 6, right? You can go out 7 years, or a total of 7 years of contract. And I can say, all right, well, you know what? Let's, I really like Trey Waynes. I'm definitely going to keep him all 4 extra years. Let's give him the high bonus, and I can get his cap cost down to 10 million. So that's how that works. Another cool system I added that you can't really see right now, but it's what I'm calling, let's just jump back into here. Nope, that's not the one we want to jump into. We want to go to My office. Let's look at the happiness. So this happiness system, it takes a whole bunch of things into account. Obviously, it takes how much they're getting paid and if they feel like they're underpaid. But it also takes into account things like, are you a winning team? Are they getting the right amount of playing time? How much money do they make? There's a couple other things, but there's one thing in there that is going to show up at other places like free agency, what I'm calling the grudge system. And what the grudge system is, anything you do that a player doesn't like, he's going to build up some grudges against you. A perfect example of one of those things is like if I shop this player in for a trade, players don't like getting shopped. So you could build up a grudge that way. If they get through a season or certain amount of a season and their playing time sucks, like if Diggs here rated as a 90, if I'm all of a sudden playing him like wide receiver 3 because I know it's a contract year and I want him to, well, I mean, it's not a contract year, but let's just say it was. I'm like, well, I want to re-sign him, but if he has a really good year, he's going to want a lot of money. So maybe I'm just not going to start him every game. Maybe I'm going to like play him a little less and try to game the system. Well, at some point he's going to get mad because he's not getting the playing time he wants, and he's going to build up a grudge. Or, and then all of a sudden he gets a little mad at me, and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe now I don't want to re-sign him, so I'm going to shop him for a trade at the trade deadline. Oh, okay, now he gets more grudge. And then we get to the end of the season, and you're like, I couldn't find that rookie that I wanted to. There's no great rookie wide receiver in the range where I'm going to be drafted. And all right, let's just re-sign Diggs. Well, he's built up those grudges. So now when you go to try to re-sign him, he's going to ask for significantly more money because he's pissed off at you. So then you're like, okay, well, whatever. I'm not going to re-sign him. And then he goes off into free agency. And then when the free agency stage comes and you're like, well, that's cool. I'll just sign him in free agency. Well, he remembers those grudges. Those grudges don't go away when he leaves your team. So every player keeps track of how much he hates you. He's mad at you. So you try to sign him in free agency afterwards, he's going to ask for a lot of money. Or like if I go to League Central, this interest in my team is going to be super low because he's built up a lot of grudges. So the grudge system, I think, is going to be pretty cool. It should be fun for like free agency or, re-signing players. If you're going to shop players for trades, you got to really think about it and be like, okay, is this something I'm going to pay for later? Or is it like, okay, that I piss this guy off? So stuff like that. I think it'll be pretty fun. All right. So that's that. I think that's kind of it for the new kind of the new way that the screens are working. Yeah. So anyway, you can kind of see where I'm going there. I think, like I said, I think I'm settling in on a pretty good style. It's definitely what I intended now, right? It's going to be hard to tell if it works until I have a little bit more of the game done. And like I can actually start playing a league and find out, it's a little too hard to do this, or maybe it's a little too, I'm missing information here or there. That's kind of what I'm driving towards, is get to that point as fast as possible so that I can start playing it, so that I can start seeing, all right, are all the screens doing what I want them to do, or do I need to start adding stuff in? And frankly, like tweaking stuff and adding new features it's just way more fun for me than creating the stuff from scratch, right? Creating it is a pain. Like just getting the extension screen and the free agency screen together it's been a pain for me. It's just so boring. I can't wait until all these screens are done and I can just play the game and improve it. So anyway, with that being said, where are we at? I unveiled the plan, the plan through April plan. And it's nice to know we are definitely on track. I've already finished all of August activities. Right. Schedule, standings, and playoffs are all obviously done. We saw those. It's the 15th. Already done all those. Started working on September activities. I got the fake fast sim obviously done. I just showed you that. In season free agency, that's almost completely. I mean, it works. It totally works. Like the interest bar isn't totally right yet. I still got to tweak that a little bit, but it's fully functional, right? Extensions and cutting players is fully functional. The AI can do their own extensions. That's fully functional. So I'm basically like halfway done September's stuff. Just as fast as I'm going right now, I have a feeling I'm going to be done September stuff by the end of August. So then I'll just, start cranking away on October stuff. So in general, like we're already way ahead of schedule. So that's pretty good. That's kind of exciting. That just means we're going to get to the play it and add features and improve things as fast as possible. That's going to be the fun part. So that's kind of it for updates. Before we go, we slam down the last bit of my razzmatazz, crack open a pretend beer because we got to talk about something I'm thinking about. And I'm not 100%. I'm not even like 60% sure how I'm going to handle this. So first of all, new brand of pretend beer. We're doing Sam Adams. I used to, when I did drink real beer, I loved Sam Adams. So this seemed pretty safe. I'll be honest. I tried this a couple days ago and it was god awful. But I also don't know if it's because like I tried it. I think it was after a run or something. My palate could have been off. It was after something like that. So like, there's no way like a Sam Adams IPA could be as bad as I remember it being. So we're gonna give it another shot. I mean, it smells good. It smells like all my other pretend beers. Let those bubbles die down for a second. All right, so the thing I'm thinking about that I'm not sure where to go, and this is where I could use some thoughts. Again, so I can again how my mind works, right? I want to start thinking this through, start getting input, start nibbling at the details, because then my mind can kind of process it so that when we get to the point of implementation, I've already kind of figured out all the issues. But the problem I have is like, what is the on-field game engine going to be? The reason this is kind of an issue is because I'm going back and forth between what's the long-term goal for this game. Originally, my thought was this was going to be the pro game, and then I would follow up in the future with like another version of it. I'd release maybe a college version of it, and then maybe like shortly, after that, after I get a little bit better at, some of the game dev stuff, then I would maybe release an updated version of it. And then like, I would just keep releasing versions of this game. Oh God, never mind. That's terrible. No, I was wrong. I was right before. This is horrible. How can it be that bad? Oh, that's gross. That's offensive gross. Oh my God. It's making my eyes water. All right, we're done with that. Those are going in the trash. Ugh. So anyway, my long-term plan was to just release lots of versions of this game. I'm kind of backing off of that now. I think what I actually want to do is release this and then just keep adding on to this game. Just keep updating it. I don't, frankly, like if I picture myself making more games, like let's just say I don't go bankrupt in 2 years and I keep making games, I can't picture myself sitting down from scratch writing another version of this game. I just like I don't think I have it in me. It's just like I've written this game so many times. After this one, I don't think I'm going to make another one of this that's just like this. I think what I'll do is just keep updating this game and adding features. I think that sounds more realistic to what I would do. So with that in mind, the on-field game engine is something I'm really thinking about. Is like, what do I really want that to be long term? So the option, like what I was originally going to do is just kind of use the top-down desktop dynasties, the DD2, DD3 style engine that I kind of always have been using lately because I really like it. I like the look of that. I like the player models, the bobblehead guys. I do like that a lot. But the engine itself is really a pure code. Like it literally cannot be anything but coach mode. The way the engine is set up is so that each player evaluates what he's going to do kind of based on nodes and points around him. So like each player, the way it works is each player makes a grid of points of like 1,000 points around him. And what he does is for each point, he evaluates, all right, where's everybody else? What am I doing? What's my goal? Like, where am I on the field? Who's being blocked? Who's not being blocked? Where are the running lanes? Like all that kind of stuff. And he evaluates it for every point, and then he picks the best one, and that's where he goes. And that works really, really well for AI, for the player AI. And it produces a really good football sim. The problem with that is there's zero chance you can use that engine to, at any point, make the player's gamepad controlled. So if there's a chance we want to someday down the road, again, I'm not going to make multiple versions of this game. So if there's a chance someday down the road we want to control players with the gamepad, I would need to build that in now. Which again, I can use, like I have Cyber League. I can use the Cyber League engine. That actually works pretty well too. That's an engine that was built to be gamepad controlled, and like the AI of the players, it's very simple for Cyber League 1. But I can make it better. But that's something to think through now. Do we want to build in that potential now? And along with that, if we do, or if we choose not to, do we want to present the game as kind of that top-down Madden style, right? Offense goes up, defense goes down. It's just kind of, that look. Do we want to do more of a side style, like more of a Tecmo style, but obviously with 3D graphics? Do we want to go sideways? Because that will change how I approach the game engine. Do we want to make it so that you can position the camera either orientation, right? Do we want it so that like you can go up, down Madden style, or you can click the camera button and go and watch it inside style? Like we can do that too, but that also changes how I approach the game engine. Do we want the game engine to be like hyper coach version where like before the snap or even during the play that you get all kinds of overlays of coach information, like maybe matchup information, maybe heat maps of parts of the field, right? A lot of information about tendencies and, this and that, like the stuff that the coach really wants to see. Or do we go a little bit farther towards the game plan-y type stuff, so that like if we're going to use joystick, we don't want all the coach overlays because that takes up the visual of what we need to use the gamepad, right? Do we want it to look a little more like watching TV, where it's really just the players doing the things and us just kind of watching it like a normal football game? So there's a lot of stuff to figure out. And like the easy answer is, well, just create options for all of it. It's like, no, that's not really how it works. Like Joe Blow Gamer is going to say, well, just keep options so that the player can decide what they want to see. It's like, well, no, then you're just creating 4 games in one and they're all going to be crappy. It's much better to pick a direction and be excellent at that one thing than to give the user all of the options and all of the options be mediocre. So I hate that. I hate that answer. That's not what we're doing. We're all about focus here. So we got to figure out, what is this going to be? We're going to lean into that hard. And any of the other options are going to be, it's not as fully fleshed out, but yeah, you can move the camera to the side. It's just like a lot of the features aren't going to work then. Right? Definitely don't be like, you should build everything and let people decide what they want. Oh, I hate that answer so much. Anyway. Yeah, now my mind's racing of all the things I hate that like people say. We'll just ignore that for right now. All right, that's it for today. Very football heavy. You can see right here, the map town game, still cruising along. But I'm not really going to talk too much about that. That's a game I kind of want to keep quiet until I have full gameplay, because it's like you've kind of seen, I think I've shown a little bit of what the concept is. It's going to be really hard to talk about anything else in that game until the whole thing is kind of playable. So we're still cruising along in that. That's still going to release most likely before the football game is. But probably won't see a lot until I have like full gameplay session, like a full gameplay stream or something like that. But just, it's still going really well. I've solved a bunch of the huge problems I had that were kind of holding me up. So it's about to take off again. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, that's it for today. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. All right. See you next time.